on TBS, they will reveal the brackets. In the meantime, on TBS is the end of the Get Hard movie with Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart. The heist mission at the end of the movie that they perform. That is on right now, and I have it muted since we're on TalkShoe and Google Hangouts. But that is what is on leading up to this March Madness selection reveal, where we will find out what teams are in the big dance tonight. And I'm excited, and I think we know who the #1 seeds are. I think it's pretty obvious. Virginia, Villanova, Kansas, they're all conference champions. There's some speculation, debate over whether Cincinnati or North Carolina is going to get that final #1 seed, but at the end of the day, it's going to be Xavier. I think it's going to be Xavier. What do you think?
I think it's going to come down to Villanova or possibly Kentucky, but more
Yeah, we know Virginia, Villanova, and Kansas all won their conferences. They're all pretty much guaranteed #1 seeds. Xavier was the 1 seed in the Big East tournament, and they lost to Providence, but they were the 1 seed. They are probably my final #1 seed, but Cincinnati won their conference. Kentucky won their conference. This is going to be interesting because ESPN is projecting Duke, Michigan State, and Kentucky all in the same bracket, which would make that bracket deep, very deep, like 5 to 8 teams deep, if that ends up happening.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, honestly, I feel like this year on March Madness is actually going to be one of the more exciting years to watch because there's not just like, you know, 2 teams that are probably going to win, maybe 3. There's actually going to be 4 or 5 really good teams having a great shot at winning.
Yeah, and in the meantime, until the actual bracketology goes live, I will go through the brackets, ESPN and CBS's bracketology, because the results are different, and then we will go in and crown the official teams, but we won't get the official results till 6. But in the South bracket, right now, it's looking like we're going to get Virginia as the 1 seed, Cincinnati is the 2 seed, Tennessee is the 3 seed, Texas Tech is the 4 seed, and Kentucky as the 5 seed. And in this bracket, I'm really looking at mainly Virginia and 2 other teams. I mean, Kentucky and Texas Tech. The winner of that game could bring Virginia to their knees in the Sweet 16, but if they don't, it's going to be Virginia all the way to the Final Four because that is a weak bracket for them to be in, and it looks like they're in a league of their own if that actually ends up being the actual bracket that Joe Lunardi is projecting. So if that's the case, Virginia's going to have a golden ticket to the Final Four.
You know, Virginia's going to make it, but I feel like they'll only make it to the Elite 8. They're going to be the good team that gets bounced.
Yeah, but who's in that bracket that could bounce them? Cincinnati's in that bracket, maybe, if they do get that official seeding. Again, this is just projections that Lunardi's projecting. Nothing's official yet until 6 p.m. But let's take a look at the East bracket. This is the bracket that I find the most compelling. Well, it was. Villanova's the 1 seed in this bracket. North Carolina's the 2 seed. Michigan's the 3 seed. You've got right now the projected 4 seeds, West Virginia. You've got Ohio State as a 5 seed. Alabama is an 8 seed. Florida is a 6 seed. Texas A&M is a 7 seed. This is a very compelling bracket with as many as 8 teams in the running. And that's going to be, after the first round, that is going to be a really fun bracket to watch how it unfolds and plays out.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I mean, it'll be, like, interesting to see what happens. I think once we see the whole bracket, it's going to help a lot more. There's definitely some sleeper teams.
Yep. The projected West bracket that Joe Lunardi has is Xavier is the 1 seed, Purdue is the 2 seed, Auburn is the 3 seed, Arizona as the 4 seed, Clemson is the 5 seed, Houston as the 6 seed, with Texas St. Mary's play-in game that is compelling. Creighton is the 7 seed, Missouri as the 8 seed. So the West and the East look like the 2 toughest if Lunardi's projections hold up. And then the final bracket, we have Kansas, Duke, Michigan State as the top 3 in the same bracket, with Wichita State and Gonzaga as the 4 and 5 seeds. So this could be, this bracket looked pretty weak earlier with Kansas running unopposed. Now it looks a lot stronger. So it's one of those things where I'm looking at the entire outlook, the entire big picture when it comes to this bracket. So that's definitely something to take into consideration as well. And now I'm going to pull up the CBS Bracketology and see what they are saying. So, because we're still in that point where, yep, this is the part. It's a spoiler part in the Get Hard movie with Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart, and I'm just waiting for the CBS page to load. That's the only reason I'm mentioning that. I'm excited about the brackets, and this is what they're doing. They're not showing a college basketball championship game, and TBS acquired the rights instead of CBS acquiring it. Like, usually CBS will play a game before Selection Sunday, and then they'll go straight to Selection Sunday. You're not getting that with TBS this year. TBS did pay for the rights to the selection show, but they're showing reruns of movies that came out, and you're not getting the same reruns or whatever. But here we go. The bracket's now loaded on CBS. They have Villanova in the East region, but they have them on the top. They have them in the top. They have Virginia as the top overall seed, but they have Villanova in the same bracket, or the opposite bracket, because ESPN has Villanova in a different bracket than CBS. But see, both teams have Virginia as the #1 overall seed in both corners. I mean, I could put that in on the site now, but I don't want to assume anything because I did that last year and I got the brackets wrong. But that's the thing. Arizona is projected to be in the same bracket as Virginia, according to CBS. And if that is the case, Kentucky's projected to be in that same bracket. So CBS is projecting Kentucky and Arizona to be in the same bracket as Virginia. So if that ends up happening, Virginia will get knocked off. I think we can both agree on that Virginia will get knocked off if they end up in the same, if Arizona's a 3 seed and Kentucky's a 4 seed, and they're both in the same bracket as a 1 seed Virginia. Somebody, either Kentucky or Arizona, will knock off Virginia. And you just brought up the possibility of Virginia getting knocked off in the Elite Eight. So kudos to you.
Yeah.
That's just for CBS. CBS has Xavier as the 1 seed, North Carolina as the 2 seed, a 7-10 TCU-Alabama matchup. They have Michigan as the 3 seed, West Virginia is the 4 seed. There's some okay matchups. The East bracket, CBS is projecting Villanova as the 1 seed, Duke is the 2 seed, Michigan State is the 3 seed, Texas Tech is the 4 seed, Gonzaga is the 5 seed, Florida as the 6 seed. And that's pretty much it. And then the Midwest bracket, you've got Kansas is the 1 seed, Purdue is the 2, Tennessee is the 3, Wichita State is the 4, Clemson is the 5 seed. So in this scenario, Kansas gets a cakewalk of a bracket because they don't have to go through any of the other high-powered seedings, and that would help them tremendously. I feel like one of these teams, whether it's Virginia or Kansas, is going to end up getting a cakewalk of a bracket. But it's always the team in the cakewalk bracket that gets upset. That's the thing about March Madness. It's like the team that's usually in the weaker bracket is the 1 seed that's usually most prone to the early upset. Because we saw last year with Villanova being in the weakest bracket, or what many people thought, and then South Carolina came out of that bracket. So that's the thing. Duke was in that region too, so you either pick Villanova or Duke, and it was South Carolina. So if there's an upset, it could be from this bracket. I mean, we'll see what happens in about 3 minutes. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with these bracket results when they go live. Yeah, and the only thing I am putting up on the site right now is Virginia as the overall 1 seed, because ESPN and CBS both had Virginia in the same region on the top of their brackets. And if that's the case, the experts know they're going to be in the South region. Like, if ESPN and CBS both have them in the exact same spot on their bracketology boards, I think it's pretty safe to assume that they will be the #1 overall seed, considering the ACC is the toughest conference. Is that you, Tracy?
So, Tracy, is that you? Probably not.
All right.
Perhaps it's a fake phone call in Georgia.
No, this is from Northeast Illinois. It's not Tracy, so who could it be? I'll mute them. Sorry about that, Ryan. Virginia, though, probably the #1 overall seed, so I'm typing that right now in on Draft Utopia because that could change, but at this point, I am going to go out on a limb and say that Virginia will be the #1 overall seed in the South bracket, and that's the first bracket on both ESPN and CBS. They have the same 1 seeds, but they have the lined in different brackets. The only 1 seed that's in the same region is Virginia, and I think it's Kansas. I think they both have Kansas in that bottom region, but I don't want to reveal anything or spoil too much. So 67 teams to go, and we have Virginia in the 1 seed, but that is subject to change if TBS knows that we're doing this live special and says, you know what, we have to screw these guys up. And their producer's a conniving dick like Eric Cartman, and he's like, we have to screw these guys up.
Wow, that was good. I like that. That scared me a little.
Yeah, but it is official, and they are we're about to go to CBS for the March Madness selection show, and I will turn the volume up just because I want to be able to hear the actual seedings, see the visuals. I'll make the volume really low so that I just don't. Wow, they actually got this basketball studio set up. They've got the audience clapping like they're on a game show. I think they took one of the TBS game shows and they actually turned it into a selection showroom. So credit to TBS for that. That's a strong way to start off. And so, yeah, they're making this way more engaging than usual. I got to give TBS credit for that. I mean, it's their first year doing it, and it's already 10 times more engaging than CBS. Because they got a live studio audience in as they unveil the March Madness brackets. Yep, and they've got fans out there and people clapping, people excited. We're going to have live brackets, and yep, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens here with the 68 teams in the field. There's going to be play-in games as well. We don't have the official results yet. And the automatic qualifiers, these are the conference champions. We've got Arizona in the Pac-12, Bucknell, Buffalo, Cal State, Fullerton, Charleston, Cincinnati, Davidson, and Georgia State. I think Arizona of these 8 teams is clearly the best, but can any of these other conference champions go on a run in the tournament? I got a good feeling about both Bucknell and Buffalo, but we'll see what happens.
You know, I feel like the university.
Yeah, there is going to be a sleeper, and they're showing off the automatic qualifiers, the teams that won the conference championships, and they're doing this to build up the suspense. And now we've got the second set of automatic qualifiers: Gonzaga, Iona, Kansas, Kentucky, Lipscomb, LIU, Brooklyn, Loyola Chicago, and Marshall. And for some reason, I've got a very good feeling about Loyola Chicago. I don't know what it is, but I have this gut feeling with them. And there's Marshall as well. Maybe I'm just infatuated with the wolf on their logo and want to pick them for that reason. And some of these conference champions, I don't actually have the visuals up for them yet on the site, but I can just pick against those teams in the tournament unless I have a gut feeling like Loyola Chicago. I want to see where these teams end up, who they end up playing, and Yeah, and the Marshall Thundering Herd are in this thing, Ryan. Thank you. Ryan's back on the call, folks, and we've got our next set of teams. Our next set of teams, Michigan, Montana, Murray State, NC Central, New Mexico State, Penn, Radford, and San Diego State. Any thoughts on these conference champions, Ryan?
Not really. They're all up there, but Penn State might be a sleeper. That's about it.
The University of Penn in the Ivy League, they could be a sleeper. They knocked off Harvard to get in as an automatic qualifier, and Harvard was the #1 seed in that bracket. So it'll be interesting to see if the Ivy League gets 2 teams in. I feel like Harvard's going to be one of the first 4 out, but it's going to be interesting to see if they go that route and actually put both Penn and Harvard in the big dance.
I hope they do.
Yeah, and this is Penn's first tournament since 2007. The Radford Highlanders are in. This is their 3rd tournament appearance and their first since 2009. So, Radford, they're going to be an interesting team to watch. NC Central, you've got the Murray State Racers, the Montana Grizzlies in the Big Sky. San Diego State could be a team to watch. And then you've got some underdog teams as well as some powerhouse teams. Stephen F. Austin is in this thing. South Dakota State won their conference. Texas Southern won their conference. UMBC, they're known for their soccer, but this year they're known for their basketball as their soccer team had a setback. UMBC turns out a lot of MLS talent, but this year they're in the big dance, so kudos to UMBC. UNC Greensboro's in the thing. Villanova, Virginia, the 2 Vs, the 2 powerhouse Vs that make up W, and then Wright State to wrap it up. It's safe to assume Villanova and Virginia are 1 seeds. It's just going to come down to where they're placed in the bracket.
That I will agree with for sure.
Yeah, and the UMBC Retrievers, they are stoked about getting into the tournament. They should be. It's their first appearance since 2008. But some of these teams, they have these emotional peaks. As soon as they win and get into the tournament, they have these emotional peaks where they've reached an emotional peak as far as team play and excitement goes that they can't control themselves. And it carries over on game day. So that's the thing with some of these conference champions. Sometimes it's the non-conference champions that are one of the last 4 teams because they're calmer, they're on the edge of their seat, and that gives them an advantage going into the first game. Whether they can sustain that if they pull the upset remains to be seen, but that can be an advantage. And that and great coaching are some of the advantages you want to see in this tournament.
Yep, I agree.
And they're now revealing the at-large bids. They're not revealing the matchups yet, but they are going to reveal the at-large bids. Alabama Crimson Tide is the first at-large bid. I'm curious to see where they end up. They had a very good season with Colin Sexton and Avery Johnson. Arizona State is the second at-large bid. They lost to Colorado in the Pac-12 tournament. And Arkansas is another at-large bid. They lost the SEC semifinals. So those are Auburn's another at-large bid. There's a lot of these at-large bids that are all over the place. And this is their 9th NCAA tournament appearance and their first since 2003 for the Auburn Tigers. And they were the #1 seed in this SEC tournament before Alabama knocked them off. And you've also got Butler. So a lot of SEC teams. But can anyone outside of Kentucky do anything in this tournament out of the SEC?
Who are the teams again?
We've got Auburn, Alabama, and Arkansas. Can any of those SEC at-large bids do anything as far as tournament play goes?
Alabama, they have 2 first-round projection players.
I agree. Creighton and Duke are the next two at-large bids. I guess what they're doing is they're revealing the conference champions and then the at-large bids first, and then going to the tournament matchups, which I don't like, but it's great for ratings because it creates more suspense. Florida, Florida State are both in. Creighton is in as an at-large bid. So Houston is in. So that pretty much means that Harvard is not in, because Harvard would have been mentioned before Houston if they got in. That's pretty much a giveaway if they're going to do it like this, which I don't have a problem with. But at the same time, it's like you're pretty much giving away who's not going to get in, which I don't like. I'm cool with the conference champions thing, but the at-large bids, you're basically ruining it for the teams that are on the bubble. And Kansas State, another one of these at-large teams that just got in. They were one of the last four in too, Ryan, so on a lot of brackets.
Kansas State's not bad.
Yep, the Miami Hurricanes are in, and Sebastian the Hurricane is the first logo I've actually seen. The first actual team logo of all the teams that have got in. He's the only logo mascot that got to show up for the selection party, Sebastian the Hurricane. Michigan State, they're not showing Michigan State celebrating. They're not showing Missouri celebrating. They're not showing Michael Porter high-fiving his teammates. NC State is in. Michigan State is in as an at-large bid. And they're showing the Wolfpack, though. They're showing the Wolfpack. Not the Wolfpack from The Hangover, but they're showing the Wolfpack. They're chilling out watching this at-large selection show. Nevada is in as well. And I think Michigan State is the one team out of these five that stands out. Oh, now they mentioned North Carolina. Okay. But Michigan State's probably capable of beating North Carolina this year with the talent they have, even though North Carolina's done a great job as far as defensive game planning goes. Ohio State. It looks like Notre Dame did not get in. They were one of the at-large bids, expected to be one of the last four in. And Brutus Buckeye is texting while he's not celebrating that Ohio State got in. He's typing on his phone and he's texting. Come on, Brutus Buckeye. You're better than that. You don't text when you don't look at your phone and text when your team's about to get in the freaking tournament. He put his phone away and he started celebrating, but it's like at that moment, it's like you're texting. You're texting as your team shows up on the selection screen. It just looks so wrong. Did Brutus run out of Buckeyes? Like, what is he texting about? I'm just shaking my head over that, Ryan. It's like I can't get that out of my sight. That image of Brutus Buckeye texting as Ohio State's in the big dance. It's like if they did the college football playoff and Brutus Buckeye's just like texting. Just looks so weird. Seton Hall Pirates are in. Purdue is in. Providence is in. Rhode Island, Oklahoma, all in the big dance as at-large bids. St. Bonaventure's an at-large bid. The Bonnies. We don't know their seeding yet, but we do know they're in. Syracuse Orange are in. I'm a little bit surprised by that. They were projected to be one of the first four out, but TCU is in. Tennessee is in, which is no surprise. They made it to the SEC championship game, and they really played well versus Kentucky. And Tennessee's my dad's alma mater. I know he was optimistic about this Tennessee team. They played their hearts out today, and they should be proud of themselves. Texas is in as an at-large bid. Texas A&M is in. This feels like a record for SEC teams this year, Ryan. It really does. Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Florida. And the last group, Texas Tech, is in.
All right.
Texas Tech in the tournament, which is no surprise. I think Texas Tech's going to be a 4 seed. They were at a restaurant called 4 Or. That might be a clue that they are getting the 4 seed in one of the brackets.
I agree. It very well be.
Virginia Tech, their 10th tournament appearance. Wonder if that means they're going to be a 10 seed. These subtle clues they feel like dead giveaways. They honestly do. I'll check to see where Virginia Tech is projected at as far as seeding goes, but I feel like they could be a 10 seed. And they're currently a 9 seed. So it's their 10th tournament appearance. If they get placed in somewhere as a 10 seed, yeah, that's viable. And then you've got Wichita State, Xavier, and West Virginia along with UCLA. And that is the official field. So that is the official field of 68. And we've got the conference champions, the at-large bids. We know the 68 teams, but we don't know where they're going to be seated. Oh, you got to be kidding me. No commercial. Do not go to a commercial. At least reveal the number 1 seed in one of the brackets before you go to a commercial. And then make Virginia wait 10 minutes to find out who they're going to play.
Wait, how much longer?
I don't know when they're going to do it. They usually do it around 6:15, 6:23. But it's 6:15 right now, so they went 15 minutes, and I was told that it would reveal the brackets around 6:23 p.m. Eastern, and they're going to their first commercial. But the good news is after this, we could start breaking down the brackets as soon as we get the official intel as to where these teams are seated. And I am going to update this to see if anyone is not in this field of 68. And now they're projecting Providence to play Nevada. They're projecting Virginia Tech. So a lot of the same projections on ESPN, but there are some different teams. Stephen F. Austin is now in. There's different projections, last-minute projections. And I think the conference champions are in all caps, as the non-conference champions are not in all caps. But right now, you've got matchups in Charlotte, San Diego, Nashville, Pittsburgh. My friend Kyle Taylor and I, we're actually going to go see who manages the high school page for Draft Utopia. We're actually going to go see the March Madness games in person on Thursday. That's why I had to push my Wednesday podcast with Oren, where we were going to break down Josh Rosen's pro day up to Wednesday, because we're actually going to be attending the games on Thursday in Pittsburgh, the live games. We just don't know what games we want to go to yet. But if there's a big name player like Colin Sexton or Michael Porter Jr., that's the region of games I want to go to. And they might put that region in primetime just to attract more viewers. That wouldn't surprise me. So I'm a little bit curious to see what teams end up in the Pittsburgh region. And there's teams in the Detroit region. There's teams in the Dallas region. There are teams in the San Diego region. And I'm going to X out this bracketology because whenever the commercials end, I want to have the March Madness results ready to go and not have to worry about anything else. And Lombardi's Draft Talk has posted a March Madness bracket, and tournament you will be able to fill out your brackets on ESPN at 7:00 p.m. Eastern. That is when you'll be able to fill out your team brackets on ESPN.com. People are just waiting to get the brackets up, and I do this every year where I'll type in the teams on the Draft Utopia brackets, and then when it's a commercial, I will project the winners during that commercial on my Google Hangout as well as TalkShoe. It's actually pretty cool. And you can hear Ryan break down. So this year, since Ryan's on the call, I'm actually going to let him break down his projections. And if I'm right or wrong about a certain team, I'll let him give his input as well. So you'll get to see that. And if I have a visual up for a team that Ryan picks that I didn't pick, we'll show you what the bracket would look like if Ryan picks that team, if we get time during the commercials. And we'll see what happens here with these brackets. But this is what they usually do. They usually do 1 or 2 brackets, then they go to a commercial. And it's 6:18. They're going to have this on ESPN by 7, so I'd imagine they're going to break down the brackets now. And the commercials are over, thank gosh, and we will finally find out who is in that top bracket. And the Capital One logo, what's in your wallet, Coca-Cola, all these sponsors. These are not the actual names of the brackets, folks. They're just sponsors. The Lipscomb Bison, they are excited about being in the big dance. UMBC, they are excited. And UMBC is mainly a soccer program because they produce a lot of MLS talent. Same with Wright State, but these teams are in the big dance, and I love it. I love the fact that we have some schools that are more known for soccer finally getting back to the big dance. I mean, Florida Gulf Coast was actually a powerhouse in college basketball. They made it to the Sweet 16 a few years ago before we interviewed Albert Ruiz. And I know that's a soccer player, but the point is some of the soccer schools also have really good basketball programs. That's the point I'm trying to make here. And the last 4 in were UCLA, St. Bonaventure, Arizona State, and Syracuse. The first 4 out were Baylor, Notre Dame, St. Mary's, and USC. So thoughts on Notre Dame and USC not being in the big dance, along with St. Mary's, who had 5 losses?
I'm more disappointed about St. Mary's than USC.
Okay, so we've got some first 4 matchups: LIU, Radford, St. Bonaventure, UCLA, NC Central, Texas Southern, and Arizona State versus Syracuse as those 11 seed, those play-in games on Tuesday night and Wednesday night. And right now, the 1 seeds, Virginia, Villanova, Xavier, and Kansas. So Virginia, I already have Virginia listed on the site as the #1 overall seed. Villanova's the #2 overall seed. I think that means they're in the Pittsburgh bracket, which means Lunardi's bracketology is accurate and correct information. But we got to see who's in their bracket first. And they're going to break down the South region. This is the Virginia bracket, folks. So get ready. They're going to unveil this bracket right now. We're going to find out who Virginia is playing. You're going to hear typing in the background. Virginia, they're going to be playing in Charlotte, North Carolina. Their opponent will be UMBC. Sorry, UMBC. That celebration was your peak of your season. Creighton is going to be in the big dance. They're going to be playing Kansas State. So Creighton and Kansas State is our first matchup in the 8-9. Kentucky's playing Davidson as a 12 seed in Boise. That's interesting. Kentucky versus Davidson. Could we see a classic 5-12 upset there? Probably not. Arizona's playing Buffalo in Boise, Idaho. I think Buffalo's going to give Arizona a good run in the first half, but that won't matter. Miami, Florida is the 6th seed. Loyola Chicago is going to be facing Miami. Now, this might be where the upset comes into play. I just had a gut feeling about Loyola Chicago, but I don't have their logo on the site at the moment. And Tennessee will play Wright State in Dallas, Texas.
I've seen Tennessee with it. I like Tennessee.
Yeah, me too. They looked very good against Kentucky today. Well, Nevada versus Shaka Smart, Texas Longhorns. Nevada's got the better record, but Texas has more talent, better coaching, and I think Texas could get to the Sweet 16. I know Cincinnati won their conference, and they're going to be a popular, trendy pick, but for some reason, my gut is telling me Texas can make it to the Sweet 16, but Cincinnati's going to be the popular pick. They're the conference champions, and they deserve to be.
I think you have a guy that's first-round talent, like Mohamed Bamba, and I feel like he plays well enough and spreads out the floor well enough for being a big man. Like, I easily slip into the 16.
Yeah, I'm typing these teams as they come in. Tennessee is the 3 seed, Wright State 14, Nevada, Texas. I mean, I can always retype this stuff later. All right, so wow, they're already going from the East bracket. So Villanova will be in Pittsburgh, first Pittsburgh game on schedule, and Villanova's opponent will be LIU, Brooklyn, or Radford. Yeah, but Villanova will be one of the teams in Pittsburgh. And that is going to be Thursday. We just don't know what game yet. And Virginia Tech will be the 8th seed in their bracket with Villanova. And Virginia Tech will play Alabama. So CBS had that right. They just had the seedings wrong. Or actually, Lunardi had that right. Lunardi had Alabama at 8 and Virginia Tech at 9. But Virginia Tech is 8. Alabama is 9. But Lunardi did pick the correct teams. West Virginia's playing a Murray State team. That could be our 5-12 upset, Ryan. 26-5 versus 24-10. I know West Virginia's a popular basketball program, but Murray State could be that 5-12 upset we're looking for. And then you got Wichita State versus Marshall. I also like Marshall. There's a guy on Marshall that Ken LeBlanc told me about. So I'm actually going to pick both Murray State and Marshall in the opening round. But because there's...
Stop taking drugs on Marshall. Stop it.
Florida's going to play St. Bonaventure or UCLA. That could be an 11. The winner of that play-in game has a chance against Florida. I'm probably going to pick Florida, though, because I don't like picking teams that have to go through play-in games, but there's always one play-in game winner that ends up making it because I never pick them, and the committee knows that, so they'll pick one of those 2 play-in winners will go the round of 32. Texas Tech's going to play Stephen F. Austin in a very good – both teams are in Texas. So Stephen F. Austin and Texas Tech are both in Texas. And Arkansas is going to play Butler. Cal State Fullerton's playing Purdue. I'm looking through this bracket. This bracket looks like a very easy bracket for Villanova. They're going to cruise through this bracket because they don't have a quality opponent. Outside of Alabama, they don't really have a quality opponent, in my opinion. I mean, Texas Tech could be a sleeper to get to the Elite Eight, but they could also lose to Stephen F. Austin in the first round. But I think this is Villanova's bracket to lose. This looks like Villanova's bracket all the way. But I think we'll see some upsets in this bracket that spice things up. What are your thoughts, Ryan, before they show the next bracket? And I still am typing in some brackets as they go to a commercial break, but I can type those in later. We'll just have conversations about those right now, and I will reveal winners after I type in one of the full brackets. But I get a Murray State versus Marshall vibe for the round of 32, and I think the winner of that goes to the Sweet 16 where they lose to Villanova. But it just looks like Villanova all the way in this bracket. And the other bracket looks like it's Virginia all the way. But there could be an upset team. I think Arizona or Kentucky could beat Virginia. And I think that's what we'll ultimately end up seeing. We'll see Arizona over Villanova in the first bracket. And I think we'll not Arizona over Villanova, Arizona over Virginia in the Elite Eight. And then in the second bracket, I just think Villanova is going to queen sweep everyone. They're going to sweep everyone in the leg, just like the Cobra Kai dojo, because they really don't have a quality opponent in this bracket that matches up well with them. I figured Virginia would get the easy bracket. Villanova got the easy bracket. That's what surprised me. Your thoughts on these two brackets so far?
Villanova taking 9.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get an official live bracket update because I don't have all the live brackets. They went by so fast I wasn't able to type all the teams. So I'm trying to get that updated so we can start breaking down some games. But right now, just based on what I've seen so far, I think there's about 2 teams that could really make a splash as far as I think Villanova is going to win their bracket with ease. We both seem to agree on that. But other than that, we're just looking like it's going to be Villanova in one bracket, and I think we're going to see Arizona over Virginia in the other bracket. Because you said Virginia would lose in the Elite Eight beginning of the show, but they got placed in the same bracket as Arizona, I believe. I'll go back and double check here, but I'm trying to get visuals for the remaining brackets, and I'm a little bit behind, but I do have Arizona. Arizona's in the same bracket as Kentucky. Tennessee's a 3 seed in this bracket, so Arizona's going to beat Virginia in the Sweet 16 because Arizona is in this. Arizona has to play the Arizona-Kentucky winner has to play Virginia in the Sweet 16. So that team's going to beat Virginia in the Sweet 16 and go to the Final Four. And I'm going to pick Arizona. I picked Arizona to make the Final Four last year in the Gonzaga bracket. For the second year in a row, I'm falling head over heels for the Arizona Wildcats. So it's the second year in a row I picked Arizona to be in the Final Four. But Arizona is going to be my pick to make the Final Four. I think they're going to beat Kentucky. They're going to beat Virginia. And I've done this before. I picked Arizona in 2011 when Connecticut won it all.
No, you be quiet.
So whenever I pick Arizona, it is a kiss of death for the Arizona Wildcats. I mean, it really is. So I've just sealed their fate, basically. I should be ashamed of myself, but I'm not. I'm not one bit ashamed of myself. Kansas is going to be the number 1 seed in the Midwest region. And we can put Xavier in the number 1 seed in the final bracket. They're going to play the Penn Quakers. That is going to be interesting because Penn dealt with a lot of adversity. And if there was ever a 16 seed that I think could beat a 1 seed, I think this is the team. Okay, they're in Wichita, Kansas. I'm not that stupid to pick a 16 over a 1 seed. That's basically a home game for Kansas. Seton Hill versus North Carolina State. I'm not sure who to pick, but I think Kansas is a clear path to the Sweet 16 with both of those games in Wichita, Kansas. It's basically 2 home games for Kansas State. Clemson's going to face New Mexico State in San Diego. I actually liked New Mexico State. Closer location. They don't have to travel as far as Clemson. They're not going to have to acclimate from East Coast to West Coast. I actually think New Mexico State has a very good chance as a 12 seed to upset Clemson and make a run at this thing. They could be another upset team, potentially. Auburn playing Charleston in San Diego. And again, a lot of East Coast teams on the West Coast. Auburn's pissed about losing to Bama. I think they're going to make it to the round of 32. They might make it to the Sweet 16. But Arizona State, Syracuse is going to play the TCU winner in Detroit, Michigan. So that's going to be big.
Syracuse.
Michigan State. I don't have to type all the bracket things up. Michigan State's going to be facing Bucknell in a very compelling 3 versus 14 game. A very compelling because I just get a good vibe with Bucknell, but they're playing Michigan State. So it feels like their fate's already been sealed. And Michigan State gets to play in home for both of those games. Rhode Island's going to be playing a 10-seed Oklahoma game in Pittsburgh, PA. So this is tough. Now I have to choose between whether I want to go see Colin Sexton or whether I want to go see Trae Young. But Duke's going to be playing in Pittsburgh too. So there we have it, folks. That is the bracket we're going to. That is the Duke versus Iona and Rhode Island versus Oklahoma. I'm guessing those are going to be the day games, and they're going to put Villanova on in prime time. But yes, that is going to be the bracket I'm going to with my friend. I've already decided. Rhode Island versus Oklahoma is good. and then to get Duke versus Iona after. I'm a huge Duke fan. They are my team, and I can actually get to see them in my town. That is exciting. And if Duke and Oklahoma play in the next round, I get Buddy Hield versus Trae Young versus Marvin Bagley. But yeah, that is good stuff. So that's what we're gonna do. It's gonna. I don't know which tier that's gonna be yet, but they'll probably have that up on an app pretty soon. So that is what I'm gonna. This West region, you're gonna have Michigan State, you're gonna have Duke, you're gonna have a lot. You're gonna have Kansas. This is where the parity. Kansas is going to get a cheat sheet to the Elite Eight, but they're going to lose to either Michigan State or Duke. And this feels like the Kentucky-North Carolina bracket last year as far as toughness, as far as competitiveness goes. And crap. The final bracket's already starting. Xavier's going to play NC Central or Texas Southern. Missouri's going to play Florida State. South Dakota State's going to play Ohio State in Boise, Idaho. South Dakota State has the location advantage, but I think Ohio State has more talent, and that talent wins out at the end of the day. But that's definitely a home game for South Dakota State from a location standpoint. Gonzaga's playing UNC Greensboro. It is their third tournament appearance, and their first since 2001. Houston's facing San Diego State, and that is the Thomas Coburn game on the bracket because Thomas was talking about Cincinnati, Houston, San Diego State. So that 6-11 seed game in Wichita is the Thomas Coburn game. I'm calling it on the bracket. And Montana is facing Michigan. I would love to see Montana knock off Michigan. It's not going to happen, but I would love to see it. As an Ohio State football fan, as a Duke basketball fan, I would love to see Montana beat the Wolverines and knock them out after one game. It's not going to happen, but it would be awesome if it did happen. Texas A&M's playing Providence in a 7-10 matchup. North Carolina gets home court in this. So North Carolina is probably going to go to the Sweet 16 because they're getting home court in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that location advantage is definitely a big advantage. They'll play Lipscomb, but it's a home field advantage for the Tar Heels. They should be in the Sweet 16. I'm sort of expecting them to get back to the Elite Eight and lose to Xavier, if I had to say. I think the top two seeds in this bracket will be in the Elite Eight. But I'm a little bit curious, can Houston or San Diego State knock off Michigan? Michigan might be in the Sweet 16, but at the same time, it just feels like Xavier, North Carolina, everyone else, this bracket. This looks like a relatively weak bracket. And I'd say the strongest overall bracket's got to be the third bracket with Kansas, Michigan State, and Duke all stockpiled into the same bracket. But I like how they evened it out, and they deserve some credit for that. But at this point, I'd say my Final Four are Arizona. I'm going to pick Duke because I have Duke bias. They are not a Final Four team, but I'm going to pick them because they have a great starting lineup, and they just might get their crap together in the tournament. But they could also lose in the round of 32 to Oklahoma. But they're also capable of getting the Final Four. But a lot of their losses are big losses. So there's going to be a lot of people picking Michigan State in that bracket, and as well as a lot of people picking Duke. I'm leaning for my Final Four right now. I'm going with Arizona, Xavier, Duke, and Villanova. And I'll have Arizona versus Xavier, Duke versus Villanova, and I'm going to probably pick I picked Kentucky over – I picked Duke over Kentucky last year. This year I'm probably going to go with Arizona over Duke. It's just a hunch I get. I just get a hunch we're going to get Arizona and Duke in the championship game. But at the same time, you never know what could happen. And if Villanova can knock off Duke, but I think Villanova is the product of a weak bracket, and I think Xavier outside of North Carolina is in a pretty weak bracket as well. So that's my Final Four: Arizona, Villanova, Duke, and Xavier. What are your thoughts on that Final Four, Ryan? Do you agree, disagree? What would you change? Because I don't have all the projected matchups at the moment. I'm going to let you tell me what you think of that Final Four before we get the actual brackets up on Draftutopia.
Okay, I was going to say, I didn't know how long this was going to last. I actually have plans here shortly.
How long? We'll go until 7 if we have to, and then we'll stop because I know you got plans. So we'll go until the top of the hour, and then we'll end the show because I do want to talk about.
Well, you should probably get speeding it up pretty quick.
Yeah, I'll focus on getting this up, but I just wish someone would have the live brackets up. I'm hoping CBS has the live brackets up now, because if they do, I can just take what I didn't get, quickly post it, and quickly work through a bracket here, because I'll still be on the air. And this is the thing. All these companies make millions of dollars off this tournament, and they make money off the people that fill in the brackets. The athletes don't get any of the bracket money. It's against the rules. Bracketology, blank brackets. I'm not sure where to click. I have some of the data updated in our bracket, but not all of it. They went faster than usual. They went at a more gradual pace last year. And I'm trying to get this updated here before the actual brackets, because the brackets should be up. And I don't want to sign in and have to create an account or fill in a bracket. I just want to get the teams up and quickly get this updated before 7, because we might not have time to break down every bracket. But what would you change in my Final Four? I've got Arizona, Duke, Villanova, and Xavier. Is there anything you would change as far as that?
I would have to take a few days to ponder it.
Ugh, CBS is making me sign in. I don't want to sign in, CBS. I don't. Want to. I just want to figure out where a bracket is and start loading it and seeing what the actual games are as far as the matchups go, because I don't have all the games typed in. I have some of the games typed in, but they went really faster than usual. And right now, I just want to fill in a bracket and try to break that down on Google Hangouts before the top of the hour. Yes, fill out the bracket for fun and just type the picks in. Please just load Yahoo. Come on. I'll log in. I'll do what I have to do. But this NCAA selection show here, it's a big selection show. This is ooh. All right, so Yahoo, I don't want all this mobile martial law bullshit. Just take me to the bracket, please. Chris's crazy bracket, yeah, that's fine for Yahoo. I just want to get these picks typed up on my Draftutopia bracket, because that's all I care about at the moment is getting this bracket updated and getting Ryan's thoughts on some of the games here. But I just wish I knew the times of the games in Pittsburgh. I wish they posted the times of these games, the starting times, but they're going to wait until tomorrow or Tuesday, get everyone heightened, get everyone invested in this. Yahoo doesn't have the win. Yahoo does not have the games up yet. Are you kidding me, Yahoo? What is up with this? A lot of ads. Is Yahoo going to dick around and make us wait till 7 just like ESPN? For the love of humanity, Yahoo, don't do this. This is not good business practice. Oh, now the brackets are up. Okay, goody. All right, I can start typing some of this stuff in, but no, I don't want to make the picks. I want to see this, and I want to see where we are, and then just retype some of these games in, and then try to get some visuals of some of the projections for certain brackets up. And it's going to be a fun tournament, Ryan. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's got Nevada and Texas, and then Cincinnati and Georgia State in the as the final 2 teams I've got to type. But we'll try to break down a bracket or two. But Nevada and Texas, I think Texas is going to win that as a 10 seed. I think Texas could even potentially get to the Sweet 16 and face Tennessee. We could have a Tennessee versus Texas Sweet 16 matchup, maybe. But I think the 3 strongest teams in this bracket are Virginia, Arizona, and Kentucky, and I'm expecting either Arizona or Kentucky to knock off Virginia in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I'll agree to a point.
Yeah, and Seth Davis talking about some of the upsets, some of the teams. But this bracket, I will get the bracket updated on Afutopia. I've got one of the brackets almost typed up for this is the first bracket, the bracket on the top. And I think there's a lot of good matchups in this bracket. Damn it, Yahoo, I don't want to type things in the damn search engine. I want to scroll down, and I don't want to click on anything. You should automatically know how to do that on my desktop. And I wish you guys had the play-in game winners up, but you don't. And it's like, I wish you had that up, but the play-in games are tough to keep track of. So we won't worry about that right now, but I will try to type some teams in for later. Ohio State, South Dakota State, because it is getting to that point where we got about 13 minutes to try to break down one of these brackets, but I'm honestly looking at this bracket with the top one being the most competitive. I think Arizona, Kentucky, and then you have Virginia. This is the most intriguing bracket outside of the Duke, Michigan State, Kansas bracket. And it's, I hate how Yahoo is just being a dick. Then you've got Houston and San Diego State in the 6-11 matchup. I am just typing some things from the top 2 brackets so I can get some of these picks up. And we still have 12 minutes to go, but I'm looking at Xavier. I'm looking at them and North Carolina in this bracket. Because I just don't see UNC Greensboro doing anything against Gonzaga. Gonzaga should be in the round of 32. Ohio State should be in the round of 32. Houston and San Diego State, this might be where I pick my first upset, with the Aztecs beating the Houston Cougars, because I think location is going to help. These games are in Boise, Idaho. South Dakota State's the closest of those teams to Boise, Idaho, so they have a location advantage. But Ohio State's got some talent. They've got an NBA prospect this year, and they've got Thad Matta. So they might get to the round of 32 or even the Sweet 16 if they can beat Gonzaga. So there are some variables to look at. But I think that first bracket, the South bracket and the Midwest brackets look like the strongest two brackets. The Kansas, Duke, Michigan State bracket and the Virginia, Kentucky, Arizona bracket. They did a good job balancing this out, and I will give the selection committee some credit here. But I also feel like some teams were robbed, and I feel like there's two easy brackets and another bracket where it's like, well, and the easy brackets are usually the brackets where the upset team emerges as a Final Four team. If there's an upset team outside the top 4 seeds that emerges, it's usually in the bracket you least expect. So that's something to take into consideration as well. But who are some of the upsets as far as the brackets go? Because they're already looking like some upsets could happen.
I would have to see what they look like. I would actually have to
There's a few brackets. I am going to get some visual. Okay, awesome. Perfect. I've got one half of a bracket typed up. I can start filling out picks for that half of the bracket and then get picks up for the other half. And I can do that before the 7 p.m. hour. So you know what teams I'm going to pick, but you don't know what teams I'm going to pick in the early region of games. And I am reloading the March Madness page now with some of the teams up, other teams not up, but there are some teams where you just know what I'm going to end up. Damn it. Stay on the top of the page. No. Ugh. Okay, that's better. I want everyone to see the top 64, and that's it when it comes to this Google Hangout. And there we go. There we go. That's perfect. So this first bracket, you've got Virginia. They should win, and they should be in the round of 32. I mean, every 1 seed should be in the round of 32 this year. It's never happened. We've never seen a 16 seed defeat a 1 seed. This is not going to be the year it happens. As cool as it would be to see it happen, this is not going to be the year it happens. It might happen in 2 or 3 years, but it's not going to happen this year.
I don't think it'll happen this year. Never say never.
Creighton and Kansas State. I'm not sure who to pick. I'm trying to assess which team has more NBA talent. I am leaning towards Kansas State, but honestly, that's only because I really like Kansas State as a university. I lived in Kansas for a few years, and since I don't see any NBA talent on either team, this is just emotions taking over rather than just sound logic or sound reasoning. This is just the emotions, my emotional state taking over here. But Virginia, I should be thinking clearly and rationally when making these picks. But yeah, and then you've got Kentucky and Arizona. They should both win. That's going to be an exciting round of 32 game. That might be the best overall game in the round of 32, Ryan. Kentucky and Arizona. That is an exciting matchup. Lots of NBA talent on both teams.
I agree. That'll be an exciting one.
That feels like a Sweet 16 or an Elite 8 game, to be completely honest. And you're getting it in the round of 32. And I think whoever wins that game is the best chance of knocking off Virginia. Because if Virginia gets by the winner of Kentucky, Arizona, they're going to be in the Final Four. There's no doubt about it. I don't see Cincinnati or Tennessee knocking off Virginia. I think Kentucky or Arizona could knock off Virginia, but that's it. And it's pretty evident, it's pretty clear, it's pretty obvious. So I'm looking at those teams, and I've got Miami Hurricanes and the Tennessee Volunteers playing in the next round. And funny story about the Sugar Bowl in 1986, 1985 Sugar Bowl. My mom put her finger in the Jimmy Johnson cake when Tennessee whooped Miami, and that was in New Orleans. And now you're getting this game in Dallas, Texas. And my mom worked as a banker in Dallas, Texas for a banking firm back in the 80s. So this is almost like karma saying, because I love what Tennessee did. I love the heart they played with, but I almost feel like karma is taking its effect, taking its toll 30 years after my older brother was born. Karma is taking its effect. Karma has to help the Miami Hurricanes beat Tennessee at some point. And this is where that karma comes into play, I guess. There's definitely Lonnie Walker. There's definitely more NBA talent on Miami than there is Tennessee. And logic would say to pick Tennessee as a 3 seed, but honestly, my gut is telling me Miami is going to be in the Sweet 16 as a number 6 seed. So that's sort of the route I'm leaning with that. But again, I'm only picking for the round of 32 and putting that on Draftutopia. So I'm thinking we'll get Cincinnati and Miami in the Sweet 16. I honestly think we could see Miami get to the Elite 8. If they can get by Tennessee and they can get by Cincinnati, maybe I'm not giving Cincinnati enough credit. They were conference champions, and because of that, they'll probably be in the Sweet 16. But I could definitely see Tennessee and Texas. I could see Miami and Texas. I could see Cincinnati and Texas, or Cincinnati and Miami, or Cincinnati and Tennessee. I could see any of those 4 teams in that bottom 2 in the Sweet 16, depending on who makes that run. And the East is going to be exciting because, honestly, I am considering the idea of the quadruple header going to all 4 games, because I'd be getting Villanova, Colin Sexton, Duke, and Trae Young if I paid for all 4 games, the bundle. And that would be pretty cool, pretty awesome exposure for Draftutopia as this tournament starts. I mean, those are premium matchups, and you can't go wrong with those matchups. Those are great matchups for the opening round. And final thing we've got here is Alabama. They're talking about Alabama and Colin Sexton and this team. Can they make a run? And I think they're going to get to the round of 32, but they're going to lose to Villanova. And you'll see on the Google Hangouts here that I've penciled in my round of 32 winners for the first bracket. And I don't have the first 4 in yet. I don't really care about that first 4 in type thing. I'll worry about that later. And I know Ryan's not going to be able to stick around for all of this because he has plans, but it's 6:57, and the first set of winners on my bracket are updated. And we've got the team logos. We've got all of that embedded and updated in. So it's pretty cool. I am going to send Ryan a photo quickly on Facebook before he has to go, because I might make him a bracket like this with his pool once he gets a clearer idea of what's going to happen. I might let him submit a bracket and post it on Draftutopia leading up to the big dance. But these are my winners I have for the round of 32 in the first bracket. I still am working on getting some teams up. The 16 seed for Xavier is going to be a play-in game, but it's not really going to matter. Xavier is going to win. They're going to be in the round of 32. And we're going to put Xavier up versus Missouri because Michael Porter Jr., I think we're going to see him for a weekend. And they're playing Florida State. So I think he can get them to that round of 32. And there is a huge temptation to pick the South Dakota State Jackrabbits simply based on their location. I mean, their location is big. The fact that they're playing in Boise, Idaho feels like it's a home game for them. And it's 12 seeds over 5 seeds are popular, trendy picks. And I think they have a location advantage. How much do you put location advantages into play when you're making a bracket, Ryan? Is that something you put a little emphasis on, or do you put a much bigger emphasis on that than it needs to be?
It depends on the game.
like this situation, South Dakota State's going to Boise, Idaho. They're closer, but Ohio State's just got that pedigree where they've got at least one NBA prospect. They've got Thad Matta back. I really do get this gut feeling that South Dakota State may pull the upset, but I'm not going to pick against Ohio State. Now, if South Dakota State wasn't playing Michigan, I'd probably pick them, even as a 14 seed, because I really do like this conference champion team. It's a good team. It's a team you need to keep an eye on. They are a potential upset team. But I don't really have any upsets yet in this first bracket. I have Michigan. I might pick Montana over Michigan, but no, logic wins out at the end of the day. Michigan's got at least an NBA prospect. They don't have as many as you'd like, but I just think Michigan's – oh, wait, Michigan would be on the bottom. They would be playing I'll pick San Diego State as an 11 seed over Houston because I need to pick at least one upset. And I think San Diego State can beat Houston as an 11 seed. And that is my first upset, with the 11 seed San Diego State team winning and getting to the round of 32. So this is my first big upset on the Google Hangout if you're still here. And what do you think about that, Ryan? San Diego State over Houston as an 11 seed. That is locked in on Draft Utopia. So what are your thoughts on San Diego State? They're playing 6 seed Houston Cougars, and I have the 11 seed San Diego State. I don't trust Houston, and San Diego State has more NBA talent, and I haven't picked an upset yet. So Texas A&M versus Providence. I probably should pick Providence, but I'm going to pick Texas A&M. They just look like a better team this year. And really, so far, I've filled out half of my bracket for the round of 32, and I really only have one major upset. I have a 9 seed Kansas State moving on, and then I have a 10 seed Texas team moving on to beat Nevada, and I have an 11 seed San Diego State. So I have a few upsets, but nothing major or nothing out of proportion. So that's what I have so far at this point. And that's the first half of the official bracket. So I've got 8 of my final 16. And I'm going to break down the next bracket. I'm going to have Villanova. I don't know what 16 seed Villanova is going to end up playing, but I am going to pick them over whoever is in the next round of games, the next region. I probably will pick them. And it's definitely worth noting because there are some good upsets. Because Villanova's probably going to beat the team to beat in this bracket. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of upsets. I think Marshall is a 13 seed, Murray State as a 12 seed. There's a lot of teams where I say, well, this is a potential upset. And I might pick San Diego State. No, I'm not that crazy. I dislike Michigan, but I'm not going to pick San Diego State over Michigan. I'm not that crazy. I mean, there's a temptation to pick against Michigan, but either way, Michigan's probably going to make a run. They beat Michigan State. They're probably going to play North Carolina in the Sweet 16. And then I guess this is the point where I might actually pick Ohio State over Gonzaga as a 5 seed, but it really wouldn't matter at this point. You don't really have a lot of teams where you're looking and saying this team could be a potential upset team. And yeah, I'm still working on 2 of the other brackets, but so far I'm looking at Arizona, and I'm looking at some of these other teams that are going to be the teams that make runs. But I do have a 12-13 matchup, and that's Marshall and Murray State. I'm picking Murray State over West Virginia. I'm picking Marshall as a 13 seed over their 4 seed opponent, which I know it is crazy. It's a little bit unorthodox. So Wichita State's playing Marshall, and Wichita State doesn't have any NBA prospects this year, and they're a popular, trendy pick. Marshall, on the other hand, does. So Florida's going to play a play-in winner, we talked about that already. And SF Austin, if they were playing anyone else besides Texas Tech, I might consider them. But I think they are a trendy pick. But at the same time, I think Texas Tech has a home field advantage to the Sweet 16 with them getting the Florida winner or the 11 seed if the 11 seed knocks off Florida. Butler's playing Arkansas. I think Arkansas and Purdue. Purdue's a good team. I know they have some talent. Ken LeBlanc talked about some NBA prospects on Purdue before the show. So they're a good team. They're probably going to be playing Texas Tech in the Sweet 16 in this bracket because I just don't see Cal State Fullerton pulling the upset. But there's a lot of different scenarios to play out. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is the right bracket, but I'm going to type Villanova Wildcats on the top and see if it shows up because the bracket formatting, the code is a little bit different. But, yeah, Kansas is playing Pennsylvania. Kansas should win that easily. I am going to type Kansas at the top of the screen before reloading the page just to save us some time. But Kansas is in a bracket where they don't play anybody tough until the Sweet 16. They get Clemson or Auburn in the Sweet 16, and I don't see either one of those teams beating them. But I think they will lose to the Duke-Michigan State winner in the Elite Eight. Because Duke played Michigan State at the beginning of the year when both teams were number 1 and number 2, and Duke won that game convincingly. So I think they can actually go on a run in this bracket. I know they've been inconsistent throughout the year, and they're not a team I'd pick to win it all. I could even see them losing at some point, but Duke's a team that I'm really excited about because I think they've got a chance to shine. Okay, so Kansas, I did put those teams in the right brackets. If I have to finish this on my own, I will, but we'll see what happens. I don't know how long Ryan's got, and I'm going to be here a while. I'm going to be here until at least 8, maybe 9. I know Ryan, latest he could stay is 7:15, 7:30, because he's got plans. But I'm trying to go over every game, every single scenario. Alabama, I've got them beating Virginia Tech as a 9 seed, and I just feel like they're playing in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh fans hate Virginia Tech. So I feel like Alabama has the home field advantage as far as the crowd goes. And I don't want West. I was going to pick Murray State. Stupid brackets trying to get me to pick West Virginia. I don't want West Virginia. I want Murray State. I just forgot the name of their team. So Murray State, Racers, and I've got Murray State and Marshall in that round of 32 game. I think we're going to see a huge – there's always a 12-13 matchup in the round of 32. There's at least one 12 versus 13 matchup in every bracket. And it's not in every bracket, but at least in one of the 4 brackets, you get a 12 versus 13. And I think Marshall versus Murray State is where we're going to get that. And the winner of that's going to play Villanova and get their butt kicked by Villanova. But I'm taking Marshall over Wichita State. I'm also taking Murray State over West Virginia. And I think Villanova is going to have a cakewalk of a route to the Elite Eight. And they're going to play either Purdue or Texas Tech. But they're still going to come out on top in their bracket. And they're going to make the Final Four. It's just such an easy bracket for them. They literally got handed a golden ticket to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate by pointing out why you agree to disagree instead of just debating? Because we want to try to carry a conversation about this.
I'd have to research more on the schemes and figure style play and stuff like that.
I mean, West Virginia is not a threat to Villanova, I don't think.
Right now, when it comes down to did you see during the season, kind of, but at the same time, let's go the area, the division. Do kids have the clutch gene? Have they showed it? I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it. I can't really answer it.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to have both Ohio State and Michigan in the Sweet 16. And the crazy thing is, if they both won out and made it to the Elite Eight, they'd be playing each other for a chance to go to the Final Four. That's the crazy thing, is if Ohio State and Michigan both won out, they would actually meet in the Elite Eight for the chance to go to the Final Four. So that would be crazy because those schools absolutely hate each other.
Yeah, I agree.
That would just be I don't think that's going to happen, and I would not pick that to happen. So Villanova, Alabama, Murray State, Marshall. I have not looked at the play-in games. I will do that. I will be the final thing I do. I might just do that now just to get that out of the way before I reveal what teams I have in the Sweet 16 because it's a good deal breaker. I've already sort of revealed what teams I have going the distance. And there's a lot of teams in this conversation as far as you got Clemson and New Mexico State. All right, I'll see. Yeah, okay. All right. Good job, Brian. And I'm still on the call, folks. I'm still on the Google Hangout as well. I'm typing the brackets as we speak, getting some more matchups updated. And we'll get some matchups updated here. I wish we could get the play-in games. Like, I honestly wish Yahoo would post the play-in games. But hold on. Auburn and Charleston. I mean, Clemson did make the Final Four in the ACC tournament. New Mexico State has a better record, though. I think New Mexico State might pull it off as a 12 seed, but the way Clemson played in that ACC tournament, they led Virginia at one point. They are not a team to sleep on. But this is going to be very interesting to see what happens in this bracket with the play-in teams. I really wish they would post the play-in winners. Okay, Yahoo's not posting the play-in winners, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to get the round of 32 updated, and then we'll get the play-in games. But I'll take Seton Hall as an 8th seed over North Carolina State. You can't really look at Clemson and say they don't have any NBA talent. They did very well this season. They are going to be – Clemson's going to be playing Auburn most likely in this matchup. And Clemson, they have a lot of talent. I was seriously considering New Mexico State, but the amount of talent and star power Clemson has is simply off the charts. I'm going to check to see what bundles are available on Game Time. Like, what bundle is the first region of games? So, yeah, there is NCAA bundle. EPG Paints Arena. We're seeing what bundles there are. Wow, Ticketmaster just reported that only single seats are left. I wish we could get the times of the games up, but yeah, I'm open to a bundle. I'm open to going to both games. All right, so we're getting back to this selection show, getting back on topic here. We're going to go with Marshall and Murray State. This is going to end at 8 most likely. Auburn Tigers are playing Clemson. I'm probably going to be picking both of those games, both of those teams to win. But yeah, TCU versus Michigan State. Michigan State, you're going to have Duke. Yes, Alabama, Texas Tech was supposed to be a 4 seed, but they ended up as a 3 seed, which kind of surprised me a little bit. And then you had Duke and Iona and Oklahoma Sooners and then the Duke Blue Devils. Now, Duke's a team that could end up losing to Oklahoma in the round of 32, but they're also a team that could end up making it all the way to the championship game. And because Duke beat Michigan State, they beat them in the Chicago Classic. I feel confident that this team will go the distance. And it does feel like I pick Kentucky or Duke every year. I'm picking Arizona over Duke this year. Last time I picked Arizona to win it all was back in 2011. I was a huge fan of Derek Williams coming out of college. And I picked Arizona to be in the Final Four last year. Whenever I don't pick Arizona, it's usually good for them. So until we get some information on some of these teams, Duke playing Iona. until I get the legitimate confirmed 16 seeds and 11 seeds for the play-in games. Yahoo does not have the play-in game data up yet. And yeah, maybe because if ESPN already has the play-in games up and Yahoo doesn't, we'll go to ESPN and we'll fill out the play-in games first. So, yeah, right now we have Virginia, Kansas State. We've got Murray State and Marshall as 12 and 13 seeds. We don't have that many upsets, but the upsets we do have are big in quality. We have a 12 and a 13 seed. We picked 112, 113 seed. We picked Kyle, you're not calling me during a hangout. I've got to get this updated. I've got a show I'm doing. Yeah, so we're breaking this down. So we'll see what happens. But this is my official final 32 at this point. So Texas A&M over Providence, Michigan, San Diego State. I'm looking at what teams I'm probably going to pick. Xavier, Ohio State, Michigan, North Carolina. And then I'll have Virginia, Arizona. I'm honestly thinking the U will beat Tennessee. And I'm honestly thinking Texas could beat Cincinnati. But Cincinnati just won their conference outright. But Texas is going to be, Texas has Shaka Smart. They're a dangerous under the radar type 10 seed. And Cincinnati won their conference. Texas is a dangerous 10 seed. They could get hot at any point. They could get to the Sweet 16, but I don't know if they'll go the distance. But I think the Hurricanes are legit, and I think the Hurricanes and the Wildcats could end up meeting in the Elite Eight. I think this bracket's where you're going to see the surprise teams emerge from the pack. So yeah, I just want to fill in my bracket or take a look at the bracket. What are the teams that are in? I don't want. Yeah, so I'm not going to pick a play-in winner. They don't have the play-in winners up on ESPN either, so we will not do play-in winners. We will speed this up, and we will break down the next set of games. So we will break down the Sweet 16. We'll start with the Virginia Cavaliers. Their opponent, the Arizona Wildcats. Villanova is going to be in the Final Four again for the second time in 3 years. They are in a cakewalk of a bracket. Virginia, Arizona, you're looking at the next two teams. And I would say and the regional is in Atlanta, so I think the Hurricanes, and then I think we'll see the Cincinnati Bearcats. So I think the Arizona Wildcats will be in this region. I think Cincinnati, it's hard to pick against a conference champion. There's definitely a huge temptation to pick this 10-seed Texas team. But Cincinnati being a conference champion, I think there's too much for them working in their favor. But Texas is a very good. Like, I have Duke as a 2-seed going to the Final Four. I have North Carolina as a 2-seed going to the Elite Eight. This is the bracket where I will not have a 2-seed in the Elite Eight, but I'm just looking at the other bracket and the Villanova bracket. Purdue is a 2-seed in that bracket. This is probably the one bracket where I don't see a 2-seed getting it. Like, if a 2-seed gets knocked out in the round of 32, this is going to be the bracket where it takes place. So I actually am going to go with Texas just because of Shaka Smart's pedigree. Very tough decision, but I'm going to go with, I think this is where we're going to see a lot of the upsets. I think we're going to see Texas. I was flirting with it back and forth. Maybe I am overthinking it, but Cincinnati, I have them losing to Texas, and then we've got the next bracket, which we're going to have. I think we're going to see all of the top 4 teams. I could actually see Clemson beating Auburn, but I think we're going to see those top 3 seeds and either Auburn or Clemson. I'm leaning Clemson because I don't see an NBA prospect on Auburn's team, but Auburn was the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament, which you have to take with a grain of salt. Clemson got to the final. That's a very tough matchup. But I think Auburn will face Kansas. So I'm honestly just torn on that one. Because I could see Clemson beating Auburn. I could also see Auburn beating Clemson. They'll both not wear each other out to the point where Kansas. I was thinking about they've got West Virginia, but I'm telling you, I've got a gut feeling about Murray State. I've got a gut feeling about Marshall as upset teams. And so Xavier versus Ohio State, and then we'll put Michigan and North Carolina in this bracket. And Texas Tech is a team that you got to keep your eye on. I think Purdue, Texas Tech will probably both be in the Elite Eight, but I think we're going to see Murray State or Marshall. I think Marshall could potentially make a run to the Sweet 16. I really like Marshall's. Marshall is a very good NBA prospect. I think Murray State's also underrated as well. But I think we're going to see a Marshall Thundering Herd team slip their way into the Sweet 16. I'm telling you guys, I have Marshall in my Sweet 16. I have them beating both Wichita State in the first round, and I have them also beating Murray State, who I have knocking off West Virginia. So I have Marshall in my Sweet 16. That is a happening. And I could see Michigan knocking off North Carolina simply because North Carolina does not have as much NBA talent. They're a very disciplined defensive team. They're very good. I could see them in the Elite Eight, but I could also see them because it just feels like it's going to be them and Xavier. But Michigan's a team that could test North Carolina, potentially knock them off. So Villanova, Marshall, Texas Tech. Texas Tech has the home field versus Florida. And Purdue, I think they have an advantage over Arkansas. So Purdue, I'm looking at Villanova. I'm looking at Marshall. So I'm going to keep filling out my bracket. I don't want to talk about it right now. I know I need to talk with my friend about it, but this is the thing. I'm filling out a bracket. And I'm doing something for... We're going to talk about this at 9 when I want to talk about it. Conversation over. Because I'm just a straight up asshole when it comes to these type of things. Okay. So Texas Tech and Purdue. And Texas Tech, Purdue. Then you've got Kansas. They're going to be in the Sweet 16. I am having a real tough decision with Auburn and with Clemson. And they showed all of the top 4 seeds. There's going to be at least one bracket with all of the top 4 seeds. And I don't have a single bracket with all of the top 4 seeds meeting in the Sweet 16. There's always one bracket with all of the top 4 seeds meeting in the Sweet 16. And Auburn was the #1 seed in the SEC tournament, so they will be the team that advances to the Sweet 16. It's a very tough decision for me, but this is what I'm looking at as far as, wow, that Bradley, Chubb, and Oliver. That is a fantastic draft for the Raiders. I don't think it's going to happen, but as a fan, I can't discourage dreaming of that magnitude. Michigan State and Duke. I think Duke will get past Pittsburgh, and they will advance. So I'm at the Sweet 16. I might get time. I am posting my bracket. I'm doing my yearly bracket special, but as soon as that is done, I will message you. And we'll get this updated. We'll get the logistics. Arizona Wildcats, Miami Hurricanes. I have the Hurricanes going to the Elite Eight and beating Texas in the Sweet 16. I know Shaka Smart's a great coach, but Texas can only do so much. I mean, this Texas team can only do so much. This Tennessee team showed a lot of heart in the SEC championship game today. A lot of heart that I didn't think they had. But that's only going to get them so far. And if I picked Tennessee and Texas, I might change it to Tennessee because I haven't seen Miami has more NBA talent, but they didn't make a deep run in the ACC tournament. But I think they have the talent to get to the Elite Eight. I mean, Tennessee was trailing Kentucky by 3 until the final second. There were even points where they led, and I think we're going to get a Tennessee-Texas Sweet 16. I was back and forth on this one, but I'm going to go with Tennessee, and I'm going to pick Texas in the Elite Eight because they have Shaka Smart. And, yeah, so I'm going to have Texas going to the Elite Eight. They have Bamba. They have Shaka Smart. They have a very underrated squad. So I'm going to go with Xavier in North Carolina in this next bracket, but I've got Arizona beating Texas in my Elite Eight matchup, and I think Arizona is going to go on a run again, just like. So I'm setting up my Elite Eight right now. So, yeah, Villanova, I'm going to put Villanova up against I do have 2 Big 12 teams in the Elite Eight, but it's not the team you'd think. And Texas Tech could make a run. They very well could. Texas Tech Purdue is difficult because Texas Tech has a lot of heart. I don't see any NBA talent on this squad, but this team has a lot of heart. And Purdue just feels like they're prone to an upset. But I'm going to go with Purdue here, setting up another 1 versus 2 Elite Eight game. And they won this thing 2 years ago, Villanova. So I think they will be back. Purdue, I think we'll see Kansas and Duke in the Elite Eight. And that's going to set up. So I've got 3 1 versus 2 seeds in the Elite Eight. And then the one bracket where I don't have a 1 seed or a 2 seed playing is the first bracket. And I have Arizona playing a 10 seed Texas team for the right to go to the Final Four. And that's sort of what I'm looking at. Michigan State could beat Duke, but this is one of these things where these teams played at the beginning of the year head-to-head on ESPN's Chicago Classic, and Duke just won that matchup, and they picked apart Michigan State. And I just think that Duke is going to be there when it's all said and done. They're not. So I am reloading the page, and my Elite Eight now up. So, yes, I am loading this, and I'm pretty certain that means the Elite Eight is updated. But I'm going to reload the page. So, yeah, I thought I updated the Sweet 16. I didn't. But here is my Elite Eight at this point. We're down to 8, folks. I have Texas, 10 seed Texas, going in and getting to the Elite Eight, knocking off Tennessee in the Sweet 16. I think this Shaka Smart team reminds me a lot of those Virginia Commonwealth teams he used to coach, and they're an under-the-radar type 10 seed. So I think they will surprise people and get to the Elite Eight. They are one of my surprise teams. I think Arizona as a 4 seed is also going to surprise people. But you're going to get Xavier, North Carolina. You're going to get Kansas and Duke. You're going to get Villanova, Purdue. And you're going to get Xavier, Villanova, Arizona, and Duke as those 2 teams. And then it's going to be, ultimately, it's going to be Arizona over Texas. Xavier, Duke, but this is how it's going to be. And if Gonzaga and Xavier were the 2 teams that lost, Gonzaga beat both Xavier and Arizona last year in their championship run. And I've got Arizona, I've got Xavier, I've got Villanova, and I've got Duke in my Final Four. So this is my official Final Four. I am locking it in. I'm loading it, and we're going to get ready for this insane tournament because I think Villanova has a chance. Arizona definitely, Duke and Xavier. So I'm going to go with Arizona over Duke. But at the same time, you have to look at this matchup. There's a lot of factors, a lot of variables, but I am locking in my Final Four. Before I lock in my championship round, this is what I see happening. Texas Tech versus Purdue is very tough for me. I think Texas Tech actually has more NBA talent, but they've got a location advantage. And yeah, Marshall and Texas are my 2 dark horse teams that I expect to make runs in this tournament. And I've got Xavier, I've got Duke, I've got Villanova, and I've got Arizona in my Final Four. And now I've got Arizona. This is the 2nd year in a row. Last year, I had Arizona making it to the Final Four, losing to Duke. And this year, I have them playing Duke for the title. This is the 3rd year in a row I think I've picked Duke. I am a Cameron crazy, I guess. So they've recruited extremely well, and I think Coach K is going to get them back. I do think Coach K is going to win 6 championships, but he's going to win his 6th championship in 2019 with the incoming recruiting class for next season. So I'm going to go with Arizona Wildcats. DeAndre Ayton establishes himself as the #1 pick. There was the investigation that got Arizona's coach fired for whatever, but I'm going to pick Arizona over Duke. And this is the last time I picked Arizona to win it all was 2011. And before I do that, I want to save this, reload the bracket, and I'll be ready at 7:45 to contact my friend. But right now, I have my bracket reloaded, and my championship game is Arizona and Duke. I don't have the official 16 seeds. If I can get that information up, that'll be fantastic. I'll be glad to pick a winner. Yeah, I have my winners up. I have my winner ready to go, but before Loyola, LIU, Brooklyn, and Radford. That is one of the play-in games. So I think we have a Radford logo up on Draft Utopia. I'm not sure. I hope we do. So the round of 68 games really don't count. I really probably should delete this part, but I am going to list them anyway, just because I can. I don't have a Radford photo, so I'm going to have to get one really quickly. I just need to get a logo of the Radford Terriers and upload that to the site. NC Central and Texas Southern. Okay, type Radford Highlanders. I might have a Radford Highlanders logo. Type in Radford Highlanders. See what happens. So if that's up, we'll post that, and then St. Bonaventure versus UCLA. That is one of the 11 seeds. Yeah. So Radford, I have them up. St. Bonaventure, UCLA. UCLA will be the second 11 seed in. And 16 seed, you've got I can't remember what NC. So, yeah, NCU Eagles. North Carolina Central is going to be the 16 seed I end up picking to win. I don't know who their opponent is for the play-in game, but Arizona State and Syracuse is the final play-in game. And they're both 11 seeds in that play-in game. So Arizona State and Syracuse, I'm going to pick Syracuse in that play-in game. I mean, Arizona State lost to Colorado, for crying out loud. I love Syracuse in this matchup. So and Texas Southern. So we've got NC Central. We've got our play-in winners. This technically doesn't count. I mean, the 16 seeds should have to play in for the right to be in. I think all the teams, I think all the play-in games should be 16 seeds. But so, yes, I do have everything updated as far as data goes. And hold on, Texas Southern. What's Texas Southern's team? I have the Texas Southern logo on Draft Utopia as well. And if it's more updated, I'll probably go with that. I might change NC Central to Texas Southern. Yeah, so we got the bracket. It is officially updated, guys. I am just trying to type in Texas Southern. I think I'm going to change my NC. I'm changing a play-in game, but you guys pretty much know what I'm going to do with this bracket. This is the final bracket. This is the bracket I'm going to post on every thread, like Lombardi's Draft Talks bracket, Yahoo brackets. This is going to be the official final bracket. So it's Draft Utopia Bracketology here tonight, and this is what we've got. I'm changing this because Texas Southern has really changed their logo too much, but those are going to be the winners. We're going to have, yeah, this is going to be, all right, so I'm going to take a photo of this bracket, send it to my friend, and yeah, that's going to be the bracket, no effects in the background. All right, so that's the bracket. That is the final bracket. All right, so thank you guys so much for tuning in through TalkShoe, tuning in through Google Hangouts. We are going to be back, and yeah, this is our selection show, already at 24 viewers. Thank you guys so much, but we're going to stop the broadcast. If you disagree with some picks, go ahead, mention your upsets in the comments section below. Maybe we'll try to get a Draft Utopia bracket challenge started. And if you want to post your picks, go ahead, post those in the comments section below if you disagree with me on some games. And we'll try to get a pool going on ESPN or Yahoo or something. So thank you guys very much. So long.